Hello. Welcome to OJ Studios. Please enjoy today's short story, Gracie, by Olivia Julius.
Thursday. I ran with Bethany and Bailey out into the playground. This was the first recess of the day, and I was ready to go outside and join my new friends out in the playground. Bethany held onto a jump rope as we searched for a spot on the blacktop to jump. As we found a clear space on the blacktop, Bethany and Bailey began to swing the jump rope, their faces alight with excitement. I watched for a moment, feeling a surge of anticipation bubbling up inside me. This was it! The chance to join in, to be a part of something new and exciting. "Come on, Gracie! You're up next!" Bethany called out, her voice filled with encouragement. With a nervous smile, I stepped forward, my heart racing with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. I had never been much of a jump roper, but I was determined to give it my best shot. As the rope swung around, I waited for the perfect moment to jump in. With a deep breath, I launched myself into the air, the rope passing beneath my feet in a blur of motion. "Down by the river where the green grass!" Bethany and Bailey chanted. For a moment, it felt like I was flying, weightless and free. But then, with a sudden jolt, I stumbled and fell to the ground, the rope catching me off guard. I landed with a thud, the wind knocked out of me as I lay there gasping for breath. Bethany and Bailey rushed to my side, their faces filled with concern. "Are you okay, Gracie?" Bethany asked, her voice tinged with worry. "Yeah, I'm fine," I managed to reply between gasps, forcing a weak smile. "Just a little surprised, that's all." Bethany and Bailey helped me to my feet as we brushed the dirt off my clothes and laughed off the mishap. Together, we resumed jumping rope, the laughter and chatter of recess filling the air. Despite the initial setback, I felt a sense of exhilaration coursing through me, a newfound confidence born from the support of my friends. As the bell rang, signaling the end of recess, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in how far I had come since starting at Little Ridge Prep. With Bethany and Bailey by my side, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with courage and determination. As we made our way back inside, the echoes of laughter and friendship lingering in the air, I felt a sense of belonging unlike anything I had experienced before. And as I walked down the hallway, surrounded by the familiar faces of my new classmates, I knew that I had found my place at Little Ridge Prep. I turned the corner to go into Mrs. Yogman's room. As I did, I spotted Adam and his friends watching me. When our eyes met, they looked away. Little did I know what was about to happen. Mrs. Yogman got to the front of the classroom and got our attention. She still had the notes from the American Civil War up on the smart board, so I grabbed my United States history notes and started to follow along as she started teaching. From the corner of my eye, I saw one of Adam's friends looking at Adam. I rolled my eyes. This is only my 4th day here and already I knew that those two like to talk. I rolled my eyes and watched Mrs. Yogman trying to ignore them. After all, they're just stupid boys. As Mrs. Yogman continued her lesson, I tried my best to focus on the material, but my mind kept wandering back to the encounter with Adam and his friends. There was something about their gaze that left me feeling uneasy, a sense of scrutiny that made me acutely aware of being the new kid in school. I glanced around the classroom, trying to gauge if anyone else had noticed the exchange, but everyone seemed engrossed in Mrs. Yogman's lecture. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the pit of my stomach. Then suddenly I heard a snip. I turned around and felt the weight of my hair fall away from me. My veins went cold as I realized what had happened. My hair, and the promise to Jessica, was just gone now. I felt fear, scared, and afraid. I was growing my hair out to help girls like Jessica not feel so self-conscious about their looks. Now that was gone, gone forever. The shock of what had just happened left me frozen in place, my heart pounding in my chest as I struggled to comprehend the magnitude of what had just occurred. My fingers instinctively reached for the strands of hair that were no longer there, the reality of the situation sinking in like a heavy weight upon my shoulders. Mrs. Yolkman's voice faded into the background as the realization of what had transpired washed over me. I felt a surge of anger rising within me, hot and fierce, fueled by the injustice of it all. How could someone be so cruel, so heartless as to cut off my hair without my consent? Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes as I fought to regain my composure, to push aside the overwhelming flood of emotions threatening to consume me. "You idiot!" I screamed, bringing the whole classroom to a standstill. Everyone was now looking at me and then looking at my now detached hair. I heard Mrs. Yolkman marching down the aisle and grabbing Adam's hand. Adam looked to be in shock, like he himself couldn't believe what he had done. "Just wait until your father hears about this," Mrs. Yolkman said as she pulled Adam out of the classroom with my hair still in his hands. My remaining hair was about shoulder length, about half of what it used to be. It took me almost 2 years to get it where it was, now I'll have to wait another 2 years to get it to grow back so I can donate it. Tears filled my eyes as both Bethany and Bailey made their way to me. Mrs. Yolkman was gone, and the class descended into constant chatter. "Come on!" Bethany said, pulling me out of my chair. "Trust me, you don't want to be here." I did as Bethany said and I let them guide me past the students and out of the classroom. We walked down the hallway and down the stairs. "Where are we going?" I asked. "To the counselor's office," Bailey said. Mrs. Yolkman would have taken Adam to his dad, so we're going to go to the next best place. I nodded my head and followed their lead. Bailey opened the door and there was a small waiting room for students to wait for the counselor. "She must not be in," Bailey said. "Here, Bethany, stay with Gracie and I'll go and see if I can find her." Bethany nodded and Bailey disappeared down the hallway. I sat down in one of the chairs and put my face in my hands. I could feel the hot tears gathering around my eyes. "I'm sorry, Jessica," I sobbed. "Who's Jessica?" Bethany asked, kneeling down to my level. I purposely didn't tell my new classmates about Jessica, I didn't want to be seen as the girl who needed to be taken pity on. Bethany's question caught me off guard, my heart clenching with a fresh wave of grief at the mention of Jessica's name. For a moment, I hesitated, unsure of how to respond. But then I took a deep breath, collecting my thoughts before answering Bethany's question. "Jessica was my older sister," I began, my voice trembling with emotion. "She passed away a few months ago." Bethany's eyes widened with sympathy, her expression filled with compassion. "I'm so sorry, Gracie," she said softly, reaching out to place a comforting hand on my shoulder. "I can't imagine how hard that must be for you." "Yeah, I promised her before she passed that I would grow my hair out to make it into a wig, and now I can't." Bethany's gaze softened even more, her understanding evident as she listened to my words. "That's incredibly brave of you, Gracie," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "I'm sure Jessica would be proud of you, no matter what." Her words brought a small measure of comfort amidst the pain and confusion swirling inside me. Bailey returned with Mr. Trenton with her. Obviously, the counselor wasn't around. Mr. Trenton dismissed Bailey and Bethany and told them to go back to Mrs. Yolkman's class. They obediently obeyed and I was left alone with Mr. Trenton. "First, I called your mom, and your mom and dad are on their way to the school now." I sucked in a deep breath. How was I going to explain this to my parents? Are they going to be mad at me? Mr. Trenton noticed how scared I was that my parents were coming. "Gracie, you're not in trouble. Mr. Trenton said Adam is in the box, it's a timeout area we have in the office. He won't get out of there until the end of school. He deserves a lot more than that," I whispered. I feared that because Adam is Mr. Trenton's son that he might get off way too easily. Mr. Trenton sighed, his expression heavy with seriousness. "Gracie, what Adam did was completely unacceptable, and he needs to face the consequences of his actions. I want you to feel empowered in this situation, to have a say in how he's punished." I blinked, surprised by his response. "But, what kind of punishment could I choose?" I asked, uncertainty tinging my voice. Mr. Trenton leaned forward, his gaze steady. "It's up to you, Gracie. You're the one who was wronged here, and you deserve to have a say in how Adam is held accountable."